Welcome. With everything going on in the world right now, with all the perceived problems that are out there, I thought I'd tackle that. I thought I'd try to bring a different perspective to it. And so my talk title today is Problems Are Just Thoughts. See, I believe every problem can be attributed to a misperception in our own thinking. And if you really break it down, what is a misperception? It's how we focus on something. It's the lens in which we're looking at it through. What is considered a problem for one person is considered an opportunity for another. What is considered a problem for one person might be, I have to speak in front of a group of people. For me, that would be a joy. It would not be a problem at all. So it goes back to the whole idea. It's a misperception in our thinking. Not that it's right or wrong. I want you to understand when I'm using the word misperception, I'm not talking about whether something is right or wrong. I'm saying it is the way we see something that determines whether it's a problem or not. See, we have suffered and continue to suffer because our minds, because not only our minds, but we have allowed our minds to dictate our experience. And what I mean by that is that we have been programmed, we have been domesticated to see the world in a certain way. The way we see the world is the perception that our mind offers us based to beliefs that we have blindly, unconsciously have bought into. And because of those beliefs that we have bought into, we suffer and we continue to suffer because we have given our mind the ability to dictate our experience. The most powerful way to break out of the prison of the mind is to recognize that you, I, are not our minds. And that's a hard one because we really do believe that our ego, our persona, is who we are. And we've forgotten the fact that we're a triune being. We're body, we're mind, and we're soul. And when we look at the soul, we understand that soul is awareness. So think about the awareness that you are and go back in time to as young as you can be, as you can remember, and look at your life from the aware perspective. And then come into this time and look at life from an awareness perspective. And what you'll realize is that the awareness that you are, it's not aged. It's not changed. You're just awareness. But in that period, the mind has changed. It's experienced so many more things. It's been conditioned in so many more ways. The body has changed because the body does change as we age. But that awareness isn't. So the key thing here to break out of the prison of the mind is to recognize that you are not the mind. And realize this, your mind is not your brain. Your mind is simply made up of thoughts. Without thoughts, there is no mind. And now we get into the idea of meditation. And what is meditation? Meditation is the ability to sit in silence and watch the thoughts go through our mind without being attached. Just watch them move through to a point where eventually, if we are fortunate, we'll have a moment or two where there is no thought. And in that period of no thought, we disappear into allness. When we disappear into allness, there are no problems because there are no thoughts and there are no perceptions. A single thought in your mind, no matter what type, becomes a powerful creative force when you believe it. If you don't believe a thought and you have the thought, it has no power. It's when we think the thought over and over again. It's when we speak the thought over and over again. It's when we put emotion behind the thought over and over again. It's when we act with emotion on the words and the thoughts that we believe it, and it is a controlling force in our life. Our mind is mechanical and functions as habits of thinking. It is when we become aware that we can discern whether or not our current habits are serving us that we get our power back. You see, the mind is repetitive. It's mechanical. It thinks the same things over again. Psychology says that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day on average. And those 60,000 thoughts, 90 to 95% of them are the same thoughts we had the day before and the day before and the day before. And so we become habitual thinkers. And when you become an habitual thinker and you understand that you're really just speaking, you're thinking the thoughts about your beliefs over and over again, what happens? Your every day starts to be the same day. You start living every day as if it was the day before. Nothing changes because you still have the same habits of thinking. As you become aware of beliefs that are not serving your highest vision, the key is to surrender them. Let them go by building a new belief. We build a new belief by really starting to think differently. And to think differently over and over again so that thoughts are transferred into words, actions, and feelings. You see, because most of the time that we're living unconsciously, whether we realize it or not, very, very small percentage of the day, even if 5% would be a tremendous amount for most people to be conscious. When you realize that most everything we do is unconscious, our job then is to create habits of thinking that empower us to create a greater life experience. That's the key to mastering your mind. You consciously choose the habits that you want to think. You create that thought habit. You create that thought habit and you live that thought habit. A thought that I think is, my body and mind live in homeostasis and I experience perfect health and well-being. I say that over and over and over and over again. My body and mind live in homeostasis, live in balance. And as a result, I experience perfect health and well-being. So when I live my life, I live with that as my habit of thinking. Why? I created that habit. The only truth that is constant is that we're aware. Everything else is made up. All the thoughts, all the beliefs, all the feelings are all made up. The truth is, there's just awareness. There's just consciousness. But because we have a body and we have a mind, we sometimes forget our truth, that we're just awareness. And we forget that everything around us is made up. All our problems arise when we believe the negative thoughts that our mind brings forward. If your mind didn't bring in negative thoughts are thoughts going against the direction of where you want to be. They're not good or bad, they're just going against the direction of where you want to be. But all of our problems arise when we believe those thoughts that our mind brings forward. And what is the one thing that our mind does more than anything? It responds to fear. Every great advertiser knows it, the government knows it, religions know it, businesses know it, that fear is the greatest motivator. And fear causes us the most problems. But if you think about it, if you're just awareness, there's nothing to fear. Because everything that's out there is something that's been created in the mind. That's why Ernest Holmes is known for this statement. Change your thinking, change your life. simple, but it's one of the hardest things to implement. It requires diligence. It requires commitment. It requires a level of awareness that you become the master of what you think and how you think. You discern where you put your focus. And when you do that, you reclaim the power of an aware, creative being. Implant this in your mind, whatever's going on. Change your thinking, change your life, and become the master of your destiny. If this talk resonated with you, I would invite you to make a donation to Agape. Support us as we bring this work, these messages to the entire world. To make that donation, go to agapespiritualcenter.com, click on the Give Now button, and give what you feel you can. What was this worth to you? I can promise you that when you give to something that you have benefited from, you will have an inner feeling of self-worth. Because life is about the circulation of energy. So with that, I thank you for whatever you give. I bless you. And I know that you have the power to change your thoughts. And in doing so, you can change your life.